Huh. Something feels different. Abby, hit me.
You ever watch something that starts out really charming and then by the end you're just absolutely in love with it? Pixar's Turning Red is just that movie. A film that had some major hesitations about it since its trailer dropped due to some fears of it being a woke movie because it had female leads. You know, typical stuff stupid people believe in. There were also some contentions with the animation style being more removed from Pixar's typical styles, with it being more bendy and kinetic. If anything, this film definitely puts any fears, be they rational or irrational, to rest. I absolutely had a great time with this movie, and it may be in my top list of best Pixar movies. So, what's the story? Maylin Lee is your average grade A goody-goody 13-year-old living in the made-up place of Canada, who has a bit of a flair for life along with her more relaxed friends Miriam, Abby, and Priya. May has to live up to her mother's more high-strung style of living and meet her expectations day by day. Things change when May starts turning into a big red panda that changes her life significantly as she starts to gain her independence. Straight up, this isn't a big adventure film, but you will be drawn in like it is one. The situation is very much an allegory to puberty, which even the movie addresses in some less than subtle but pretty funny ways still. They do go with the fact that as May and her friends get older, they're gonna notice different things about boys. It hits heavy on puberty being a bitch, and it's all highly relatable. They don't shy from the idea that girls get their periods around May's age. Honestly, the whole movie doesn't shy from a lot of things that people would consider too mature, kinda indicating that Pixar is maturing with its fans, which I'm always down for. May becoming the red panda is very much her gaining her independence from her overbearing mother. It is a coming-of-age story that tackles it in an over-the-top yet relatable way. Every moment you can just feel exactly what the characters are going through, no matter what, from their straight-up embarrassment to their happiness to their sadness and everything. It's very character-driven, and these are all great characters to drive along everything. May and her friend group are unapologetically teenage girls, from the way they fawn over boy bands to how joking they can get around each other, even to how much they care for one another. They have a truly genuine friendship that doesn't fully succumb to the movie trope of them breaking up by the end, just basic moping and doping until they get back together or so. It's done more realistically here that's pretty believable. I'm gonna say this, May's friend group is a massive highlight of everything. They're all so likable and quirky and unique to one another. Miriam is this lax, go with the flow type of girl, Abby is very high energy and the manic one, and Priya is this one friend who is just her own entity. They all bring something fun and genuine to the table and may remind you of your own friend group that you had when you were a kid, in some way or another. They very much capture being a 13-year-old with how hyperactive they can get as well as how heartfelt they can get. It's just genuine, and I think that's just what makes them work so well. They feel like an actual group of friends you'd see somewhere in life, or you probably had in life. The parts where May is a panda are just a fun delight. She freaks out like you would expect, but as she gets used to this change, she uses it to her advantage, going so far as to use it for monetary gains so she and her friends can go to a concert. It's the main conflict with May's mother Ming wanting May to hide the panda until they can get rid of it, and you very much get into wanting to see May succeed. It makes it clear you are in the 2000s with this movie. The references to boy bands and the attitudes the girls have is very much how girls in the 2000s were. Granted, it takes place in a made-up place called Canada, so your mileage may vary on the relatability factor. Ming is this very high-strung mom who thinks she knows what's best for her daughter, but deep down, you know this is a result of her own upbringing. It's a case of been there, done that with the whole familial trauma thing, but it's executed so well that it doesn't fall into cliche territory. Even with the way it ends, they handle it perfectly by avoiding pinning the blame, which would have hurt the film. It has a strong message about being your true self and not hiding who you are no matter what, which I think many can easily relate to. Chinese culture is also utilized here in a nice way, with the red panda being something of a power passed down by May's ancestors. It's not made to be seen as a curse, but more a power that became misunderstood with each generation, especially with it being tied to emotions. We all know how family or society can get when you let your emotions out. And also, the Chinese cultural aspect is just thrown about the world pretty well, and it's just kind of a nice thing that helps flesh out everything. Now for some words of wisdom from the king of black people, ladies and gentlemen, and in-betweens, ToonrificTariq.
Stop watching How to Black. I hate that bullshit. ToonrificTariq, head of the Offbeat Kiki fan club, Family Guy apologist, and Unity. Turning Red is f***ing dope. Dead ass. When they dropped the trailer, I just knew that this was gonna be my shit, but wow, I somehow ended up enjoying it even more than I thought I would. They somehow found this like brilliant middle ground with May's character arc. It's specific enough so it feels like it's specific to this movie, but evergreen enough so that the audience can put themselves in their shoes in any situation. The relationships in this movie, whether they be with the friends or the family, they just feel whole. They feel fully realized. I was amazed by just how much I was invested and engulfed in everything that happened in this story. Man, the fact that we're at the stage now where a movie could be set in 2002 and it could be considered a period piece is kinda nuts. But I like that aesthetic for this story. The color choices, the tone is all very meticulous. It's probably the most 2002 anything taking place in 2002 has ever looked, and that includes things that were made in 2002. Oh, what came out in 2002? Drumline, Master of Disguise, Mr. Deeds. Yeah, humanity been fell off, bro. Sorry, Drumline niggas, but not really. And I'll be the first to tell you, I cannot get over how gorgeous this damn movie is. So much of the character acting, the setting, the expressions. Like, there's parts of this movie that just make me want to go back and stare at it. All of the designs are so strategically put together. They all look great. May, Panda May, the friends, her mom. I say her mom. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I had a f***ing blast with Turning Red. Absolutely. It's the first mainstream animated film in a few years that I've seen that I've actually really loved. I don't want to call it perfect, but I don't have any problems with it. If you do, that's cool. But man didn't ask you to talk about the movie in this video now, did he? Huh, Goofy?
And it's about to have me fight in my comment section. Now, this film has a flair for comedy with a lot of the sight gags and character interactions. It does a lot of cartoony antics that you wouldn't expect from Pixar, but they managed to play into pretty well. I was laughing my ass off at a lot of the jokes. Nothing was really a groaner or anything. The biggest laughs comes towards the end, but I won't tell you what it is because it's just freaking hilarious and part of the plot. But I'll tell you now, the climax is not what you would expect, but it's something you need. The animation is very different from Pixar, where Luca was utilizing a cartoony style in facial features. This utilizes in that and in the movement. Characters have a snap to them that makes the comedy hit way harder. They do that technique where a few frames are missing from some movement or smear frames are used to add to the cartoony style. They even use sight gags like money signs in the eyes and the sword. It's a good showcase that Pixar definitely has more up their sleeves than what you would normally see from them. This is definitely a movie that Pixar put its foot in. It utilizes Chinese culture in a fairly subtle way that showcases getting older and having your own independence. The messages are very heartfelt and you will grow attached to them and honestly relate to them very hard. All the characters are well rounded and you can grow attached to them easily. The laughs pretty much land with each joke. If you want a movie that can speak to that adolescent side of you about being true to yourself no matter what your family thinks and also really handle the idea of generational trauma, then Turning Red will definitely make you feel like a kid again.